Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the 21-day challenge to transform your life and get closer to achieving your goals. We are on day 7, so we're going to do a full understanding of what we've done over the past 7 days. But before we do that, I want to make sure I talk to you guys about intention and the importance of it in achieving your goals before we go into week 2, which is when we'll really start diving into what your actual goals are and the systems that we want to build in place in week 3. So let's get started. So, for those who are just joining us, if you have not seen the other 6 videos that predate this one, I will link that up here so that you can watch them at your own leisure time. Feel free to watch this one and then go back. It's completely fine. It doesn't matter what order you watch them in. You can watch them whatever order makes sense to you. But week 1 before week 2 before week 3 is going to be the best way to get the most out of the program. So let's talk about intention. If you watched all the videos, you'll notice that on day 1, I had you set habits for the future self that you want to be. I asked you guys to think about your future self and what are habits that he or she would already have in their life, and to add 3 of those habits into your daily life: one physical, one mental, and one spiritual. The reason I asked you to do that instead of setting a goal is because goals don't always have intention behind them. Goals are something that we build for ourselves, but we don't really understand the why behind them sometimes. And when you don't understand the why, it's hard to establish the discipline to get it done, the desire to really get it done. And when you don't have intention, I don't know, you just don't care as much. Like, one thing that you'll notice if you've ever done any of like the 5-minute journals or the full focus journal, they will always have you set your intention for the day. And how you set intention for the day, you just wake up in the morning, you're like, today I intend to accomplish this, or I intend to have this emotion throughout the day. And it really sets the tone for your day. And if you do that with your goals, it'll set the tone for the next 6 months or 12 months of your life with ease. It makes it so much easier. So, what are your intentions and how do they differ from goals? I don't know why this made me think when I was prepping for this video. One of my favorite movies is Cinderella with Brandy, Whitney Houston. If you've never seen it, watch it. It's so good. It's actually on Disney Plus right now. They finally put it somewhere so I don't have to find a VHS. But there's something that Whitney, as the fairy godmother, says to Brandy, who's playing Cinderella. I guess this is a spoiler if you've never seen Cinderella. I'm so sorry. But before she like gets her ready for the ball and like grants her this opportunity, she asks her like, what do you wish for? And she's like, well, I dream of doing this. I dream of doing that. She's like, but a dream is different than a wish. Like, that's a completely different situation. And I love that because her dreaming is similar to like how I think about a goal. It's something, a vision that you have for yourself, but there's no action behind it. Versus an intention, that wish was her getting the opportunity to ask someone for help to achieve something, and her fairy godmother could grant that wish because she knew in her heart that that's what she wanted for herself. Now, how do we bring this into our daily lives? When we set goals for ourselves, having understanding of why you set that goal is going to be the difference between whether you achieve it or not. And that's what I also asked you guys on day 1 with the habits. Now, based on those habits, you can kind of figure out what your goals are in life versus doing it the other way around. Now, let's say that you have a goal of losing 25 pounds. Great. Now, what is the intention behind that? Why do you want to have that goal? Because that's going to be your motivation every single day when you have to wake up, do something that makes you uncomfortable, sacrifice something. We talked about sacrifice yesterday. When it comes to like overcoming our fears of like failure and not getting there, we talked about that a couple days ago. And conquering that fear of success, all of those things are rooted back into your why, rooted in your intention. And if you are someone that has ever read any Eckhart Tolle books, The Secret, any manifestation book, they will also tell you your intention and your why is going to be the game changer. So we've talked about manifestation. We've talked about how your emotions are important. On the negative side, limiting that, making sure you're really thinking through what your fears are, understanding your self doubts, working through all of that are all things that we've covered. So now that you guys are making that mental shift to actually understand your intention and how to conquer anything that's standing in your way. Now let's get to the fun part, actually planning all of this out so that you can go after these things. So let's think about what your intention is. You set habits on day 1. Why did you set those habits? When I told you to visualize what your future self looked like and what habits he or she had throughout the day, you picked those for a reason. Now, if you continue that habit consistently for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, what goal could you set that would be realistically met by those habits that you've already put in for your life? Let's say you set a daily habit of walking 10,000 steps a day. What could you accomplish in the next 60 to 30 days if you walk 10,000 steps every single day or 3 days a week, whatever your goal was? I'm sorry, whatever your habit was, what goal could you see yourself achieving based on that habit? Now, I actually want you to write down goals that you have for yourself, 90-day goals, and then let's do 180 days in a year from now. I don't want you guys to go too far out because when we go too far out, we think we have time, like, oh, I'll do this later, I have a year. Oh, I'll do this later, I have 6 months. No, no, no. We're going to do 90 days and then we're going to do 120 days. So we're going to do 3 months goal and a 6 month goal. So let's say you plan that for the 1st of February, and you will take this goal because we're going to build your system for it next week. So you should be able somewhat to kind of start planning for it February 1st. You should be able to start. I know a lot of us start on January 1st, and I know 60% of people lose their goal by the 18th of January. So we are just on time. You done had a little break. You done felt guilty. You done moved on. And now we are back at it. And you are going to go for these goals that you have for yourself. So looking at the goals that you set for the new year or just goals that you have for yourself in general for 2025, do the habits that you built align with those goals for yourself? And when you think about it, what is the intention behind the goals that you set? And start having a conversation with yourself. Why don't the habits that you picked align with those larger goals that you have for yourself? Where was the disconnect and why was that disconnect there? Because that is that's going to be important because for some reason that's not what you picked. And I didn't really limit you. I said spiritual, mental, physical, and most likely one of your goals fell under those categories. Now, if you had three physical goals and you picked one physical habit, I understand. But for those who had goals that just completely didn't align with the habits they saw their higher self doing, very different situation. And it's time to kind of start looking at where that gap is and why that gap exists. But going back to your goals, now that you have goals and you have habits, even if those goals didn't align, let's start building out habits that you can start putting into your day and seeing if that higher self would have those habits. If those goals that you have for yourself are actually aligned with who you want to be long term. And from what the exercise we did earlier this week, we talked about having something that you want for yourself versus something that other people want for you. Are these goals, when you look at this list that you have for yourself, are these aligned with things that you want for yourself or things that society wants for you, your parents want for you, your spouse wants for you, your kids want for you? Or is this something that you really want for yourself? And how do you see yourself showing up for this? What are habits that you would have to achieve this goal? And similar to what we talked about yesterday, do you have the self worth? Are you willing to make the sacrifices to achieve this goal? Because every goal requires sacrifice. There is not a goal on this planet that will not require some sort of sacrifice, whether there's a financial sacrifice, a sacrifice of time, a sacrifice of energy. Even if your goal is just to meditate, you're putting energy towards that, you're putting time towards that. Every single goal is going to require time. Time is a sacrifice because it is a finite resource. And you have to decide if it's worth it to you today. Because if it's not worth it to you, that's what happens is this spiral. You pick a goal. Let's say your goal is to work out every day at 5 a.m. I'm just gonna stick with workouts. If this is your first video, you'll notice I'll stick with the same uh goal or same habit that you're trying to build throughout the video. So let's say you're trying to lose that 25 pounds and you're like, I'm gonna go to the gym every single day, 5 o'clock in the morning. If you do not have a strong rooted intention behind that, you are going to start to falter in that habit. If you do not do the mental work to show up for yourself in the gym, if you start getting anxious about going to the gym because who else is there or how you feel about your body, those different things, you're going to start to falter in showing up, which is fine. But what that does is it creates this narrative in your head that you can't show up for yourself. And then you start building on that narrative of, oh, I don't finish things. I don't show up for myself. I shouldn't even start because I'm not going to finish. And that wasn't true. The reason you didn't finish is because there were self doubts and things that external factors that you did not prepare for. And there were also potentially, this was not the path for you. You decided to do 5 a.m. because that's what the cool influencer girl did. but she doesn't have the same responsibilities as you. And therefore, you did not succeed in doing this consistently in the way that she did, but for completely different reasons that she doesn't have to deal with. And if she had those same reasons, she also probably wouldn't have gone every day at 5 o'clock in the morning. So, grace, I'm gonna say this in every video, give yourself grace, but also be realistic with yourself and be honest with yourself about what you want and why you want it. And the root why, you can't do anything without it. You just can't. And I say this so often. I'm sorry if I'm getting annoying or repetitive, but I want to make sure it really, really sinks in, because this is the difference between success and failure, is who you see yourself to be, what doubts you have for yourself, but also why you want what you want. So once those intentions are set, once you are confident in your intention, the why you want to lose that 25 pounds, and that reason is important to you, and you think you are worth the person that you could be with this habit and with this goal achieved, if you can see yourself as the person who has achieved this goal, if you can conquer the fear of failure, if you can conquer the fear of success, if you can surround yourselves with people, energy, words, affirmations that align with that goal, it becomes so much easier to just do the work. It gets so much easier. Going to the gym is going to be the easiest part if you do all of this pre work before you get there. One thing I've noticed as an engineer, I have seen the amount of pre work that goes into any product that you receive. We don't start building stuff until 1 to 2 years after we get a contract approved. We are doing so much pre work to make sure that once we get to the actual building phase, that's one of the shortest phases, is the actual building phase. There's like 2 years of prep, 1 year of building, and then another like year of testing is usually like the process. But there's a reason for that. And if we take and adapt that mentality, if we adapt that mentality into the way we set up systems for ourselves and in our lives, we will see a much greater track record of success. And that is the beauty of being a life coach who also has been a systems engineer, because it just makes sense. And once you see the results, you'll understand why you have to put in all this work up front. You don't have to. Actually, that's a lie. You don't have to. It's just going to be potentially a little bit more difficult than what you were expecting, because now you have to deal with all of that stuff while working on the goal. You have to be going to the gym and in the evening dealing with why you don't want to go tomorrow, instead of dealing with that before you start the habit and then going into it like, oh, I know I'm not going to want to go tomorrow because I'm dealing with this, but I've already done the work to know that this is just my mind, this isn't real. And I have a solution. I'm going to listen to my affirmations that I've recorded that I did early on in this challenge, or I'm going to lean on this support system because I asked for this village and this person's that's going to encourage me. I'm going to ask so and so to show up with the to the gym with me, or I took the consequences approach. I take the consequences approach. I'm going to pay for this class knowing that money motivates me. And if I skip it, I'm going to lose some money. Whatever works for you, there is no problem as long as you are not physically harming other people and trying to achieve your goals. I support you. Okay. Do what works for you. But bringing it back, that intention is so important. And I hope with this conversation, you can also see how everything we've done so far builds to what we have today. Doing those affirmations is going to be so useful later on down the road when you're having those rough days. Dealing with what your self doubts are, knowing what those areas of improvement that you want to have within yourself and what you need to work on mentally is very important as well. And that's going to be useful going forward. Knowing what your inner child is still working through is going to be very helpful. Having that audit, completing your environmental audit, having a more supportive system, knowing who you can lean on as you're trying to grow, who is going to support you, not be jealous of you, and really actually be an asset to you as you go through this experience. That is something we did earlier in the week, and that is going to support you as you go forward. As with every single day and every conversation we've had so far, I would also like to applaud you. If you've been with me for the past 7 days working on yourself, I just want to give you congratulations, because you have made it so much further than what other people make it through. Some people don't even get this far in the challenge. And so you deserve a pat on the back for that, because snaps for you for knowing your worth and showing up for yourself and being willing to at least learn how to do the work. Even if you're not to the point where you're willing to do all of this yet, you are learning. And that knowledge is going to kick in one day and be extremely useful. One day you're going to be ready. And when you are, I will still be here. So you can message me, hit me up on like TikTok at the Katrina Warren or Instagram at the Katrina Warren. Just send me a message when you finally are ready to start transforming your life. Who knows what will be available at that point if it's years later, but I got you. Just let me know you watch this video and I will 100% be there to you to support you throughout your journey. So, this is the end of our mental shift throughout this transformation journey. You should be already on the path to seeing the mental benefits of all the work that you've done, all this shadow work that we've been working on, manifestation techniques, understanding the power of our emotions, understanding the power of our mind, not just what's internal, but also external to our mind, what we're taking in all the time. And hopefully that helps you in this next week because we are about to go into the more fun part. This is kind of like an extended version of like vision boarding, what we're about to do next week. We're going to start talking about how to build those systems, building out what it is that you actually want for yourself, why that is what you want for yourself, and how we can start building systems to get you there. And that's also we're going to really focus on in section 3 as well for week 3. So, with that, I'm going to let you guys enjoy this reflection time. If you have space to journal and write what you've learned so far, see how your habits have changed that you want to achieve for yourself, see how your goals have changed, see and understand what your intention is for the rest of this challenge and for the rest of this year and the years to come, because this is going to be the small details and the little work that really makes the big difference over time. And I will see you guys tomorrow to start our next week of the challenge. Thank you so much for staying with me this long, and I can't wait to see all the positive changes you've made in your life. Bye, y'all.